has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
35-30, 35-40, 45-50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the midfield.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ian Fritz Show. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for tuning into this video. It's going to be a fun one. I'm going to take a sip real quick. As you can see, we still have the old logo on the mug, but I've got some big news, guys. Cue this right here. A little background change for you. We've got a new logo. The mug is still the old mug, but we've got a new mug on the way. We've got a hat on the way, so I'll show you guys that whenever they arrive. But I love the logo. Let me know what you guys think about the logo in the comments, but I'm a big fan. I think you guys will be a big fan. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm happy with how it turned out, and I'm ready to roll. I'm ready. I just wanted to look a little nice for the logo reveal. But enough about the logo reveal. Let's jump. And if you're listening on podcast, you already see the logo because you're thinking, where's the old Ian Fritz Show logo for the podcast I clicked on? Well, it's new and it's different and it's better. So you're clicking on a new podcast logo, but it's the same podcast. It's still me. I'm still talking to you, and we're still going to talk about college football all the time. Now, you clicked on this video. You saw the title of the video. Way too early, top 25. I know I teased that I would be doing How Can We Fix College Football this week, but we're going to push that back 1 week. Just allow it to marinate in my mind a little bit more on what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to say. But for this week, way too early, top 25. The transfer portal window has closed for the most part. Alabama players could still leave. Washington players could still leave. Michigan players could still leave. Arizona players could still leave. However, I think most of that has settled down now, so I feel comfortable doing my way too early top 25 at this time. And I feel pretty good about my way too early top 25. Now, caveat, this doesn't mean that this is how the teams are going to perform next year. This is just what I think the top 25 is going to look like. Obviously, that's what a way too early top 25 is. But if you think this is my projection for how the season's going to go next year, not what that is. Not what that is. We do those a little later in the year, closer to the season actually starting. Makes a lot more sense. But way too early top 25. It's a fun little segment. I like it. And we'll just jump right in. We'll just jump right into the way too early top 25. I have some honorable mentions, some close, but in my mind, didn't get into the top 25 for me in the way too early. We've got NC State. Going to be a solid football team. The Wolfpack, well coached every year. Then we've got SMU, the Ponies. Moving on to a new conference in the ACC. That's going to be a little weird, a little odd to get used to. But they're going to be a solid football team. In my mind, just missed out on the way too early top 25. We have West Virginia. A lot of people were putting West Virginia in their 19 to 21 range in their way too early top 25. For me, I'm not the biggest fan of the Mountaineers. Not the biggest fan. I think last year was a little fluky of a season for them. I think it was a one-off situation for Coach Brown over there. So I'm not super confident in the West Virginia Mountaineers going into 2024. Will they prove me wrong? I hope not. And then we've got USC. Now, Lincoln Riley, can he revamp that defense and that offense, losing the number one pick potentially in Caleb Williams? We will see, but they didn't make the top 25 for my way too early top 25. But let's just jump right in to the number 25 team, the Miami Hurricanes. And I know what you're saying. Ian, I haven't seen the Miami Hurricanes in anybody's way too early top 25. What are they doing in yours? Haven't you been hating on Miami? Haven't you been hating on Mario Cristobal? And I have. And I think rightfully so. I've been hating on Mario Cristobal. I don't think the dude is the greatest football coach for college football right now. I don't think he can get it done to the level Miami wants to get it done. I don't think he's going to lead him to a playoff appearance. I don't think he's going to lead him to an ACC championship. I don't think he's going to lead him to a college football playoff final. I don't think Mario Cristobal is the guy to get that done. What he does do is he gets a lot of talent on the football field. And I think year 3, with all that talent, Miami's going to put a better product out there. They started the year off strong in 2023, and then they took a little tumble, and they snowball effect, to a not great ending. But I think they're gonna play a little better this year. I still worry about Mario Cristobal. However, I think they have a better quarterback in Cameron Ward this year. So I think that's going to help them get a couple more wins. And I think they're going to be a top 25 football team next year. I do. especially starting the season. So I've got Miami at the 25 spot for my way too early top 25. Moving right along, we've got the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, they're losing their offensive coordinator, Andy Caldwell-Nicky. Dude's going to Penn State. He is a great offensive coordinator. So that's going to be an adjustment period for the old Jayhawks up there in Kansas. What is that going to look like? What is the offense? Is the offense going to change? What's it going to look like with Jalen Daniels coming back? Their stud quarterback missed basically all of last year. They had Jason Bean filling in. Dude is a great backup quarterback, can fill in nicely, but Jalen Daniels definitely better quarterback than Jason Bean. So we will see what they can do and how they'll adjust with Jalen Daniels coming back. They basically didn't have him all of 2023. He was a Heisman contender until he got injured in 2022. He was, I believe, top 4 or 5 in the betting market until he got injured in 2022. So Jalen Daniels going to be a great quarterback for them next year. I like him at the 24 spot. I can't bump him up any further because I think the defense is still going to be lacking, and they still don't have the talent as some of these other top 25 teams. So that's why they're at the 24 spot. Moving right along. And this may shock some people as well based on what has transpired in the transfer portal and what has left their team and the amount of talent that has left their team and the disappointment that they have been for the last forever. That's the Texas A&M Aggies. And you may be mad at me. You may be mad at me for putting them in the top 25, but that's okay. Be mad at me. Tell me in the comments, Ian, you're an idiot for putting Texas A&M in the top 25. And I'm going to say to you, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to prove a lot of people wrong with this Texas A&M in the top 25 way too early. We're going to come back to this video in October, November. You're going to say, Ian, whoa. You were right. Maybe it's that new logo right there that made me just feel a little good about the Aggies. Maybe it is. I don't know. But Texas A&M, Mike Elko coming in, going back to Texas A&M. I think he is a fantastic football coach. And I think that's exactly what Texas A&M needed. They had all the talent. They had all the superstars on the field. They had everything they needed. They had all the money. They had it all. But they had one problem. Jimbo Fisher was still there at the helm doing what he does, and it wasn't much for them on the football field. So I think Mike Elko is going to overhaul that football program in year one. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go out there and win 10, 11 football games, but I think they win 8. They win 9, maybe, possibly. Even if they win 7 football games, it's an improvement. Now, great young quarterback coming off that injury. I think he's gonna fit right in. I think he's gonna be good. I like the Texas A&M Aggies at the 23 spot. I think they're gonna surprise some people. Not me, because we're all over this early in 2024. What is this? January 27th. We're all over the Texas A&M Aggies this early in the year. Now, this one may shock some people as well. Number 22 in the way too early top 25. We've got the Washington Huskies. And you may be saying, Ian, didn't they just play for the national championship? If you don't follow college football as closely as I do, as closely as some of the diehard fans out there do, you may be thinking they just played for the national. There's no way they're number 22 going into 2024. There's no way. They just played for the national championship. Guys, let me just tell you, they lost their coach to Alabama. They lost their starting quarterback to the draft. They lost their 3 starting wide receivers to the draft. They lost all of their offensive line starters. They lost their starting running back. They lost their starting tight end. And if you're following, that's every single starter on the offensive side of the football, as well as their head coach and their offensive coordinator and most of their offensive staff. In addition to that, they lost their entire starting defense except for 2 starting defensive backs. So it's going to be a tough road ahead for the Washington Huskies. However, they hired Jedd Fisch. You know who that is? You should, because we've talked about him on the show before. And if you're new, thank you for joining. Jedd Fisch, former Arizona Wildcat head coach. He is now the Washington Husky head coach. He's a great football coach. What he did with Arizona this year should show you that Washington losing a bunch of players and losing a lot of their talent, with Jedd Fisch at the helm, yeah, they're not going to go win 13, 14 football games like they did this year, but they're going to win some football games, and they're going to be a top 25 team. He's going to have that team. You're going to not know anybody on that football team, but you're going to know Jedd Fisch is at the helm, and I think he can steer things in the right direction for the Washington Huskies in 2024. They're coming in at number 22. Now, another Big 12 team here, just like the Jayhawks, we've got their counterpart in the state of Kansas, the Wildcats, up there in Manhattan, Kansas. Now, Chris Klieman, he's a stud football coach. The dude knows how to make a football team go. They don't always have the best talent. They don't always have the most athletic players on the field, the biggest names on the field. But one thing they do have is fight. They have fight. You watch Kansas State play and they fight. That's what they do. They fight and they try to win football games. They're tough football team with a great coach who knows how to coach football. Okay? If there's one thing I want in a football coach, it's that he instills a toughness in that football team and they fight every single game. That's what Chris Kleiman does at Kansas State. Now, they have a great young quarterback, Avery Johnson. He ran for 5 touchdowns against Texas Tech in 2023 in one game. Ran for 5 touchdowns as a quarterback. Now, he's got to develop a little bit as a passer, but he's got some great hair. And maybe that's why I'm bumping him up a little bit, maybe higher than some other people's top 25s. But he's got some great hair. He really, really does. If you don't know who I'm talking about, go look him up right now. Pause the video. Go look up Avery Johnson, Kansas State quarterback. You'll see his hair. It's fantastic. Enough about his hair. Kansas State coming in at number 21. I like Chris Kleiman. I like Avery Johnson. They always put a good product on the field. I expect them to do that in 2024. Moving right along. Number 20 team in the country in my way too early top 25, the Iowa Hawkeyes. And you may be saying, Ian, they don't even have an offensive coordinator yet. It's been basically 200 days, 150 days or whatever, since they fired their offensive coordinator and since they haven't hired an offensive coordinator. And I will say to you, it doesn't matter if they hire the greatest offensive coordinator in the country. I don't think Iowa is ever going to have a nice offensive product on the field. I just think they're cursed offensively. So I'm not going to push them down for not having an offense ever. I don't think they're going to have one again this year. But what they will have is probably a top 10 defense. That's what they're going to have. They're going to have a top 10 defense, and that's what the Iowa Hawkeyes put on the field every single year. Kirk Ferentz, as long as he's their head coach, they're going to have a dominant defense. And I trust that defense to get them 9-10 wins every single year. Now, the Big Ten looks a little different this year. They're going to play some tougher teams. However, I don't think they're going to get to the Big Ten championship, doing away with the divisions, but they're going to win 9-10 football games. That's good enough to be a top 20 team. Iowa Hawkeyes, number 20. Right in front of them, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This is slightly below the average spot that I see people putting them in their top 25. And that is just because I don't think they're as good as some people think they are. Now, they're going to have a solid football team. You've got Alan Bowman coming back for year 45 as a college football quarterback. He spent about 25 years down there at Texas Tech, and this is going to be a second year at Oklahoma State. And how does that math add up? 25 plus 2 is 27, but how is this his 35th year of college football? Well, it just is, and it just checks out. So don't do that math on your own. It just checks out. Alan Bowman coming back. Now, he's had a tough road. He's been injured a lot, had a couple punctured lungs. It's a tough road for him, but he's a good quarterback. He's not going to blow you away with what he does on the football field, but he gets the job done, and he's good enough to win 8 football games for Oklahoma State next year, 8-9 football games. That's good enough to get you in the top 25, especially in a 12-team playoff era. You win 8-9 games, you may backdoor into the top 12. Depending on what transpires over the course of a year, you win 8 football games, 9 football games, you could find yourself in the college football playoff. Now, Mike Gundy always puts a good product on the field with worse talent than what he's playing 95% of the time. Somehow, some way, he finds a way to win football games, and he finds a way to put a good product on the field. So Oklahoma State, I like where they're at number 19. Right above them, we've got the Louisville Cardinals. Okay, Jeff Brom, I think he is an incredible football coach. What he does, wherever he goes, he wins football games, and I like what he's doing with Louisville. Also, this may come as a shocker to some of you, I like the Louisville jerseys. And maybe they get a jersey bump in my rankings, and that's okay. That's okay if I like the jerseys and they get a little bump for that. No big deal. But they do have one of the best transfer portal classes coming in. They've got a new quarterback in Tyler Shuck coming in. Dude's a veteran. He's not going to blow you away athletically or any of that, but he's a solid quarterback. I think he's going to be better than the Plummer kid they had last year. So I like Louisville at the 18 spot. Right in front of them, slightly lower than a lot of people have, is the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, they're going to be a talented football team. Since Josh Heupel has been there, they've recruited well. They have a stud athletic young quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. Hopefully I said, Nico, if you're watching, we'll love to have you on the show. Hopefully I said your last name right there, Iamaleava. I practiced that a couple times before the show. It is a tough name to say. Pause the video, try to say it 5 times fast. You can't. Play the video now. Thank you. Tennessee, number 17, Josh Heupel. I think that offense is going to look just drastically different this year with Ian Malave instead of Milton at quarterback. I think they're going to be able to do a lot more with Ian Malave's arms and legs. He's a mobile guy. He's an athletic guy. I like Tennessee at the 17 spot. Sneaky pick for the college football playoff. I wouldn't put him in the top 12. Obviously, I don't right now. But we'll see what they do. We'll see where they can go. I like them at number 17. Keep an eye on the Vols, though. They may shock some people, not me. I like where they're at. Now, right in front of them, fellow SEC team, the LSU Tigers. A lot of people have LSU maybe in that 11-12 spot. Not me. Not me. Obviously, I just said they're at number 16. Look, I like what Brian Kelly has done, overhauling his defensive staff, firing everybody on that staff, and hiring Missouri's defensive coordinator, Baker. I like what he did there. However, I think it's going to take more than just 1 year for that defense and for that mindset on that defensive team, all of those players to learn the defense, learn the scheme, and apply that on the football field. I think it's going to take more than 1 year. So while they're going to be great offensively, I think they're going to be great offensively. I think they're still going to lag behind in the defensive category. Now, one thing, just preface this. If you're listening, any LSU fans, do what you can to tell that defensive staff and Brian Kelly down there, tell them to put Harold Perkins as a defensive end. That's what he does best. That's what he does best, and that's where he should be playing. Okay, so PSA, all LSU fans out there, Harold Perkins needs to be a defensive end. That's where he will shine. That's where he needs to be going into 2024. Now, at number 15 in the way too early top 25, this is where we get into the playoff contenders here. Now, you could maybe drop that down to the top 25 teams because half of them make a playoff now. But Arizona, they have basically their entire team returning, but they're losing their head coach in Jed Fish. That's a huge loss. That is a huge loss. I can't understate how big of a loss that is for the Wildcats. Now, you may say, Ian, it's not that big of a loss. I mean, they're keeping their entire team. They're bringing in a head football coach that wants to be there from San Jose State. However, he's no Jed Fish. He hasn't built the program like Jed Fish. He hasn't turned it around like Jed Fish. He doesn't know there's players like Jed Fish. Now, he's probably going to learn them all. And one thing that does help Arizona going into 2024 is they're going to have Noah Fafita and Tetero McMillan back, their star wide receiver and their star quarterback. They're going to have those guys back, which is a huge boost for that football team. Those two dudes are absolute studs. Tetero may be the best wide receiver in the country next year. That's how good he is. I mean, he just goes up and gets the ball. He can do it all. He can do it all. Truly can do it all. So can Fafita. He's a little short guy, but man, he fits that ball through some windows. It's crazy to watch. Go watch some highlights from Fafita. It's nice. I like them. They're going to be talented. They may be the favorite in the Big 12 as the offseason rolls along. As we turn around to July, August, they may creep up as the number one team in the Big 12, but we will see. We will see. I like them at number 15 for now. Right in front of them, we've got Notre Dame. This may be lower than some people have them, but I like them right here, mainly because they're the same team every year. We know who they are. We know who the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are. They're going to put a good defensive product on the field. They're going to have some really nice talent defensively, but they're going to underwhelm us offensively. They're going to have that good offensive line, but they're going to underwhelm us scoring points, having playmakers. They're not going to blow us away. That's why they're at number 14. Now, I do think something Notre Dame fans should be excited about going into 2024 is Riley Leonard. Now, I don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the world or anything. He's not going to blow you away with his arm talent. However, he does use his legs a lot more than what Notre Dame fans are used to. So Notre Dame's used to that just ground and pound, throw it down the field, play action with what they've had the past 25 years. But they've got a little mobile quarterback now. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Notre Dame does with that, how they utilize that, since not having one forever may shock their system. But PSA, use Riley Leonard's, you can't even say his last name, and his last name's not even as hard as Ian Malave. I was killing that earlier, and I can't even say Leonard. Unbelievable. Riley Leonard, use his legs. He can kill it on the ground. That's what he did at Duke until he got injured. Now, that is something to watch out for. Is he gonna protect himself when he's running? We will see, but he can use his legs. I think that will help Notre Dame in 2024, but I like him at the 14 spot. That they'll win 9 games, 10 games. So that's where they should be. All right. Right in front of them, we got the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, a lot of people always like to put Penn State in their top 10 moving into the next season. That's not me. That's not me. I want Penn State to prove it to me. I want them to show me, hey, we got a new offensive coordinator in Andy Kotelnicki. He runs a completely different offense. He does a lot of motions, a lot of different things that he throws at defenses. And I think that's going to fare well in the Big Ten. Big Ten's not used to seeing those offenses in the Big Ten. They're Big 12 offenses. They're Pac-12 offenses. Big Ten's not used to seeing that. So I think that is going to fare well for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, I think Drew Allar is going to develop a little more in his second year. Different offense. However, I think Andy Kotelnicki is going to do great things with Drew Allar. I think they're going to throw the football a lot more. Now, they're going to have that great defense, which will help them always. But I like them at the 13 spot, just outside of the top 12 for now. But they can easily find themselves in the top 12 going into December next year. So I like where Penn State's at. New offensive coordinator, love it. Number 12 team, right on the edge of the playoffs. Last team in for now, the Utah Utes. Now, I'm going to take a break here. After I take a sip, I will get back to the Utah Utes. Still the old logo. New one will be on a mug soon. Oh, I spilled a lot of water there. If you're on podcast, you didn't see that, and you cannot make fun of me for it. But if you're on YouTube, you can. So do that if you wish. Utah. I have them at number 12 right now in the way too early top 25. Why do I have them there? 2 words. Cam Rising. I'm going to move right along. Number 11. No, I'm kidding. Cam Rising, he's coming back from injury. This is his 15th year in college football. He's an incredible quarterback. What he does, it's a completely different team when Cam Rising is on the football field for the Utah Utes. Kyle Whittingham, one of the best coaches in all of college football. Dude is going to continue to put a great defense on the field. And when he gets his quarterback back in Cam Rising, I like great things to happen for the Utah Utes. For me right now, they're the favorite to win the Big 12. They're the favorite for pretty much everyone to win the Big 12. A lot of people have them in the top 10 in the way too early top 25. Not me. I haven't seen Cam Rising play in over a year, so I think he's going to have to knock that rust off a little bit. And they were injury prone. So I just need to see him play football again. Right now, they're at number 12. This may shock some people. In front of them, I have the Clemson Tigers. Now, you may be saying, Ian, they don't even use the transfer portal. Dabo doesn't like the transfer portal. He can't do it in modern day college football. What is he doing? Well, look, I implore Dabo to use the transfer portal. I implore him to use it because it will help his roster and people will transfer to Clemson. They will. It's a nice place to play. They have a lot of talent. They put a lot of people in the NFL and they need to use it. Enough said. However, year 2.5 for Cade Klubnik. He showed some flashes last year. He's not going to blow you away. He's not going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And if he is, come back to this and just say, Cade Klubnik is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft and clip that and think I said that. But I didn't, unless he is. So year 2.5 for him. I like what he can do. He can do some things. Again, he's not going to be the number 1 pick, but he can do enough to help Clemson have an offense. Year 2 under Garrett Riley. I think they're going to do some things and shock some people in the ACC next year. I would put them in the playoff right now. Obviously, they are in my books right now, but we'll see. That defense, I still think, is going to be fantastic, as always. But I like what they did. Dabo made some staff changes going out there, hiring an offensive line coach. Dude's a stud. I like him a lot. So I think they're going to be a different football team. They ended the year winning 5-6 games in a row, so I like where Clemson is at right now. Now, right above them, ACC rival, the Florida State Seminoles. A lot of people having Florida State in that 14-13 range, and they're way too early top 25s. Not me. And you may be saying, Ian, you've said not me a lot. You're disagreeing with a lot of people out there. Does that mean you're going to be right? And it does. You know that thing in the betting world when 85% of the market is on the X team and only 50% of the public is on the Y team. Normally, the Y team ends up winning, and all those 85% of people, they lose all their money. That's where we're at right now in the top 25. I'm the 15%. Everybody else is the 85%. So we're on team Y. See what I did there? Why are we on this team? Okay. All right. Florida State. They're losing a lot of players. They're losing basically all of their production. However, they had a top transfer portal class again. And I think Mike Norvell is a top 5 coach in all of college football. And when he reloads his roster, a lot of players from Alabama, a lot of talented players coming in. DJU, He is no Jordan Travis. However, he's going to be serviceable. He's going to be good enough to win some games for Florida State. Now, I just trust Mike Norvell, and that's why I have him in the top 10. Losing a lot of talent hurts, but I really like Mike Norvell, and I really like them reloading this roster through the portal again. Now, this may shock some people. I haven't said their name yet, and normally they're in the 16, 17 range, and that's the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, this is year 3 for Brent Venables at OU. They have 99% of their defensive players returning, of their defensive starters returning. That's a lot of production returning, and their defense continues to get better. So I would expect their defense to get a lot better. If they don't have a top 15 defense next year, I think it's a disappointment for Brent Venables in year 3. I think it's a disappointment if they don't have a top 15 defense. Now, they have all that talent, all that returning production, year 3 in the system. I think it's going to help them a lot. Now, the only concern for me, for OU right now, at this moment, is the young quarterback with a offensive line that's not exactly finished yet. So I have my questions about a young quarterback going into the SEC, traveling on the road at Missouri, at Ole Miss, at Auburn, at LSU. Those are 4 tough road games in all of college football. Those are 4 top 15 toughest places to play, and they're going to have to go in there in year 1 in the SEC. That's my only question mark right now. But I think the defense is going to be really, really good in year 3 under Brent Venables. So defenses help you win football games, and quarterbacks help you win football games. And I like Jackson Arnold, talented quarterback, but he's young. But if you can lean on that defense, I like where they're at. That's why they're at number 9. Right in front of them, you've got the Missouri Tigers. Now, they're returning their starting quarterback, Brady Cook, and they got Luther Burden coming back. They had a lot of talent come in through the transfer portal. Now, they don't recruit the greatest, but Missouri's never recruited the greatest. Now, they're losing their defensive coordinator, going to LSU. They hired South Alabama's defensive coordinator as their DC. I like that. South Alabama's got a great defense down there. However, this is SEC. This is big time. This is big time. So we'll see how they fare with a different system. Is it going to hurt their defense? I think it is. But how much of a difference is that for them? We'll see. I still like them. They got talent. They're coming off a huge momentum building year, and they have quarterback, head coach. All of that is the same. I love quarterback continuity, and I think that's huge for college football teams because it doesn't happen a lot in the era of football we are in. So that's why they're at number 8. Right in front of them, we have the Michigan Wolverines, reigning national champions. You're losing Jim Harbaugh, going to the Chargers, and this news broke 3-4 days ago. However, we said right after the national championship game, in the national championship recap, I said, Jim Harbaugh's gone. He's going to the NFL. This is it for him. So if you want to just get your news from me from now on, that would be great. But we said he was going to the NFL a month ago. So not that big of a deal. Sharon Moore. They are promoting from within, from Sharon Moore, offensive line coach, OC. I think this is a great hire. I really, really do. A lot of people are not saying what they think about Sharon Moore yet. They're saying he's a good football coach. I'm not going to say he's a great hire yet because he hasn't been a head coach yet. He hasn't been a head coach yet. He hasn't done it. And I will say you're right. However, I've seen what he can do on a football field. I've seen that offensive line excel in the past 3 years. And I've seen them improve offensively. What he did in the playoffs, offensively, play calling wise, was masterful. I love Sharon Moore. I love what he's going to do there. They're losing big pieces. Obviously, you lose your head coach. You lose most likely your DC is going to follow Jim Harbaugh. You lose your starting quarterback. You lose your starting running back. You lose some big pieces here and there. But for the most part, I like what Michigan has built there. I think they're not going anywhere. I love Sharon Moore. So we will see. A lot of their young pieces on defense are still there. Will Johnson, Mason Graham, a couple of their linebackers, only sophomores last year. So I like what they're doing. I like Michigan going into 2024, number 7 team in the country. Now here we go. The top 6. This is where it gets real. I could shuffle these teams here and there. For the most part, I think Alabama, and that's the number 6 team I have right now. I think that's where they fit in when I work this out in my head most of the time. Now, they have a new coach. You're losing the greatest head coach of all time in college football, Nick Saban. You're losing all of your defensive staff. You're losing most of your offensive staff. And you lost a lot of players. However, Alabama also has the most 5- and 4-star recruits in the country. So they have all of the talent already. They're just younger. And Kalen DeBoer knows how to win with guys that are 0 stars. So I like Kalen DeBoer to just put another good product on the field for Alabama. I still like them to win football games. They're still going to be talented. Kalen DeBoer is a great football coach. I don't expect anything less from Alabama. That's a lie. I do. I don't expect him to be the team year in and year out that Nick Saban was, because if Nick Saban was the head coach here, they're probably number 2 going into next year. But you drop them 4 spots, number 6, Alabama fans are probably crying. But as I said last week in my video, they're not sinking. The ship may feel like you're sinking, but it's not. It's just going through a little rough patch. The seas are calming. You're number 6 in the preseason poll for me right now. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be just fine. I'm sorry I did that for your ears right there. I'm sorry I sang, but sometimes I'm spontaneous and I like to sing. Nothing wrong with that. All right, moving right along. Number 5 in the way too early top 25, we've got the Ole Miss Rebels. I don't know if this is the highest they've ever been in a way too early top 25. It is definitely in my way too early top 25. This is the highest they've been. But they have no reason to not be in the top 5. They have the number 1 transfer portal class year after year under Lane Kiffin. They have their starting quarterback returning. You've got year 3 with Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin. Again, quarterback and head coach continuity. I love when they return the quarterback and the head coach. When that happens, good things happen. Good things happen, especially when they have a great head coach and a great quarterback, which they do in Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart. Now, again, I've been harping on this the past couple videos. It is tough for a head coach who calls plays to win a national championship. So I wouldn't pick Ole Miss to win the national championship, but they definitely have a chance, and they definitely could do that. They definitely could. They have all the talent in the world. They've revamped their offensive line and their defensive line. They have 2 offensive linemen coming in from Washington. And if you remember, Washington's offensive line won the Joe Moore Award. That's the best offensive line in the country. They brought 2 of those guys in, plug-and-play guys on their offensive line. So that's big time for Ole Miss. Revamping that offensive line and defensive line. They have 3 or 4 defensive backs coming in to overhaul that secondary, which was poor in 2024. Or 2023, excuse me. I really like Ole Miss going into 2024. Everybody does. They have all the talent. Now can they just put it together on the field? I think they can. They're going to be really good next year. They're going to be really, really good. All right, moving right along. The top 4. Now, this is where, I know I said it for the top 6, but I think these 4 separate themselves from Ole Miss and Alabama. I think it's these 4, Ole Miss, Alabama right behind them, and then everybody else. Now, I've had these 4 teams in 5 or 6 different orders over the past couple weeks when I was thinking about doing this video. But I think I like where they're at right now. Transfer portal has closed for the most part, and I like what I have for these top 4 teams. Now, number 4, going into 2024, for right now, is Ohio State. And some of you may be saying, Ian, have you seen what they've done in the transfer portal? They got the number 1 player in the country in Caleb Downs. They got the best player in the country on their defense. And I agree with you. However, what really separates these 4 teams is the quarterback. Okay? And I have Ohio State at number 4 because I think they have the 4th best quarterback of these top 4 teams. I think Will Howard, solid quarterback, can do some things with his legs, can throw the football. However, I think he's just maybe 1 or 2 steps above what they had last year. I don't think he's 5 or 6 steps. If their quarterback last year was here at a middle of the road step number 5 in a 10-step staircase, I think Will Howard's at step number 6.5. And is there step 6.5? There is for Ohio State. I don't think he's at step 8.5, step 9. Now, they still have probably the 2nd most talented team in all of college football. So they're gonna have everything in front of them this year. Everything in front of them in 2024. They need it all. Kyle McCord, that's his name. I couldn't remember his name 3 seconds ago. Kyle McCord was here. Will Howard is here. There's not a big gap in my mind. However, I could be proved wrong. I like what Ryan Day did going out and getting Bill O'Brien. I like that play. I like that change for him so he can focus on being a head coach. But right now, Ohio State, I think quarterback puts them at number 4 right now. And I'm saying like number 4 is like as low as I would put them. It's as low as they would go in my mind right now. And that's not low at all. So Ohio State fans, If you want to get mad at me for saying that, go ahead and get mad at me. Go ahead and get mad at me. But Will Howard is the worst quarterback out of these four guys in the top four. Right in front of Ohio State, I have the Oregon Ducks. Now, it's year 3 for Dan Lanning over there in Oregon, moving into the Big Ten. Tough schedule. Oregon and Ohio State playing week 3 or 4. Gonna be a fun game to watch. Now, I'm not saying having them at number 3, they're going to win all their big games that face Dan Lanning. That's not what I'm saying. But with a roster construction, with the continuity of head coach and all the coaches there staying, I really like what Oregon has. They had a top 5 recruiting class. They had a top 5 transfer portal class. They're going to be good. They are going to be very, very good. Now, the number one reason why I have them ahead of Ohio State has more talent. Yes, but Oregon has a better quarterback. Dylan Gabriel is a better quarterback than Will Howard. Dylan Gabriel is my number 1 quarterback going into 2024. If I were to rank all the quarterbacks, I have Dylan Gabriel at number 1. And some of you may be saying, Ian, that might be the dumbest thing you've ever said. No, it's not. No, it's not. You can get mad at me for saying it. I have no doubts about that. But Dylan Gabriel is my number 1 quarterback going into 2024. No doubt about it. The guy can sling the football around. He can use his legs. I really love Oregon bringing him in and having them just right behind Bo Nix. I think it's going to fit perfectly. Oregon, my number 3 team going into 2024 after the transfer portal. Now, the top 2 teams, they play each other halfway through the season in Austin, Texas. The number 2 team in the country going into 2024 is the Texas Longhorns. Now, again, this is what, the 4th or 5th time I've said this? Quarterback, head coach, continuity. I've got Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian, year 3, together. Now, again, Sarkisian is a head coach calling the football plays. I think he's a masterful play caller. He really does some nice things. However, what killed them in 2023 was their red zone efficiency. They weren't good. They couldn't score points in the red zone. They couldn't get it in the end zone. That's what killed them against Washington. They couldn't do it in their college football playoff semifinal. Now, is Sark going to adjust? What is he going to do differently in 2024 going forward? I don't know, but they lose some major pieces on the defensive line, on offensive skill players, skill position, but they reloaded. Every single position they lost guys at, they just filled them in right through the transfer portal and their top 5 recruiting classes. They have all the talent in the world. They have their quarterback returning. They have their head coach returning. Continuity is huge in college football. There's hardly any of it nowadays. And I love when we get continuity. I wouldn't pick them to win the national championship, but right now, I would put them in the national championship. I really, really would. And it's mainly because year 3 for Sark, year 3 for Quinn Ewers. I love what they can do. I love what they did last year. Now, they're going to be behind the Georgia Bulldogs. They're the number 1 team in the way too early top 25. Virtually nothing has changed for Georgia going into 2024, except they just added defensive staff members from Alabama. They just went and got Alabama's DB coach, plugged them right in to their defense. That's huge. That is actually huge for Georgia. They have all the talent in the world. They have Kirby Smart returning. And get this, they have their quarterback returning. And Carson Beck, I think he's the second best quarterback going into next year. Some of you may be saying, Ian, Carson Beck? That dude's like 6'5", kind of looks like an alien. How is he then your number 2? He is. If you watched Carson Beck throw the football, you would be impressed. He is a great, great quarterback. I like him. I like the continuity they have, again, at quarterback. And obviously, they're the most talented team in the country. So you have continuity at quarterback. You added some defensive staff members that will help your team. Adding elite coaches will never hurt your team. You added that. Kirby Smart's still there. You add another top 3 recruiting class. You add some nice transfer pieces. You're not going to fall below 2, and everybody's putting in number 1, and I agree with them. So that's the way too early top 25, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making the list. Hopefully we come back to this halfway through the season, maybe in the summer, and I still agree with this list after spring ball and after all of the transfers in the spring. But hopefully we come back to this list and I say, man, I was right on the money. We probably won't because none of these lists ever end well, but they're fun to make. And hopefully this was a fun video for you to tune into. And if you're new to the show, if you're new viewer, click that subscribe button. Comment down below, hey, this is the first video I've seen. It was really good. And if you say, hey, this is the first video I've seen, it was really bad. Well, thank you for commenting. If you wouldn't mind, still hit that subscribe button, and you can hate on me forever if you did that. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you like the new logo. Hopefully you can see it well enough. And if you want a mug, we're getting those mugs in, or at least my mug in the next week or so. So we may be making some mugs for you guys, or some hats if you want those as well. So let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I love you guys. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
25-30, 35-40, 45-50, 45. There goes Davis.